It's a beautiful spring day, Central California coast, warm and sunshiny. I wanted to share about a podcast I stumbled upon. It's called ASTRAY, ASTRAY, and it concerns India and primarily Western quote-unquote seekers who go to India on some sort of spiritual yogic quest, and they wind up missing, never to be seen again. And you can get it on wherever you get your podcasts, Google Podcasts or any of them. It's called ASTRAY, ASTRAY. Apparently 4 episodes. I've seen 3 of the 4 so far. First episode was kind of ho-hum. Then it starts getting good. I don't want to ruin the whole thing, tell you too much about it. I've been a student of religion for decades, both Western and Eastern. A student of Sanskrit literature for about the last 15 years. Once in a blue moon, I've toyed with meditation and this, that, and not to an extreme level, but it's all about focus. And when the second verse in Patanjali's Yoga Sutras, it's basically saying, rough translation mind, yoga is a stilling of the movement of the mind of perception. And what that means is when you still all that movement that's going on in your mind, you get to taste a sense of heightened awareness. At least I do. I'm just going by my observations. It's kind of the same sense when I go rock climbing, and there's an element of danger there for sure. And I get so focused that I like taste myself. You know what I'm saying? It's like a sense of heightened awareness. Words do not quite do it justice, but if you've ever experienced it, if you're capable of experiencing it, you probably know what I'm telling you about. A lot of people don't. They're basically dead, walking dead. The Bible says leave the dead behind or something like that. So the Patanjali Yoga Sutras I'm using is a Sanskrit English version. You can find it PDF form on the internet, one of the first one that pops up. It's by Chip Hartranft, Hartranft, of the Arlington Yoga Center. English Sanskrit translation, good for beginners who don't know any Sanskrit whatsoever. And of course, I think my personal translations are better than his, but whatever, you know. So that's that. So that's the purpose of yoga. So evidently we've got these Westerners going over there, and they're showing up in the holy cities of Varanasi and yoga ashrams, and they're committing suicide and just walking off somewhere never seen again. I want to one of the possible explanations for this is there's apparently a malaria drug that some people are still given over there, and that can have some adverse psychological effects on people. And other people, they're calling it the India syndrome, just like it's called the old Jerusalem syndrome of people would go to Jerusalem, evangelicals and whatever, and they thought they were being raptured up by Jesus, and the Israelis would throw them in a mental institution. Kind of same thing that's going on in India. They're overwhelmed by the culture and the emotions, religious emotions of the place, and they just go a little haywire there. So, interesting little podcast. I'm not going to go into it too much. In my studies, I'm kind of familiar with Varanasi, place along the Ganges where they bury the corpses and throw them in the Ganges, which has got bodies floating in it. India's very polluted. I've never been there. I don't have a huge desire to go. But the literature's incredible. My favorite is the old core family books of the Rig Veda, the oldest parts of it. A lot of that harkens back to the old Indo-European period as they were starting to migrate into Iran and India. Later on, these verses became incorporated into these incredibly rich ritual ceremonies, and that gave rise to Brahmanism. You know, the Brahmanism, who they weren't a bunch of sweeties. They were vying in power with the warrior classes and the kings and rulers. They were nothing sweet. And it got very corrupt and whatnot, and there was apparently some sort of reaction against it, the corruption of these elaborate ritual ceremonies and whatnot. And somewhere along the way, I can't pin it down, but the asceticism and this inward turn towards introspection and gave rise to the meditation and the yoga practices, or something along these lines, evidently. So then a little bit later on, you get this other branches of Indian literature that's it's just runaway imagination. The Vedas take their inspiration from nature. It's sublime. I love it. And then some of the other stuff in India, I can't recall the names of it. It's just runaway, fantastical gibberish of the imagination. And some of that's what these Westerners are getting caught up in too, I believe. So one of these guys is an American who disappeared on some pilgrimage somewhere, and I was on his Instagram page yesterday looking at this character, and he's on YouTube. Kind of spooky, a survivalist type. I'm out in nature all the time. I'm a lover of nature. I'm not a survivalist because I know I'm not going to, but I'm a lover of nature. I've got some of these, I do pretty well because I've been out in it so many years, but that's that. So he's on there and features a few other people, an American student female who committed suicide by jumping off a ashram in Varanasi. It goes on and on and on. I'm not going to ruin it for you. I highly recommend you, if you have any interest in India, things of a psychological nature, yoga, meditation, I highly recommend you to that. I'm presently back into Sanskrit a little bit. I'm studying the laws of Manu, M-A-N-U. He's kind of the Indian Adam, as in Adam of Eve. And this is the Penguin Classics. I've seen around for years. Something that I didn't think I was going to like. It's pretty darn good. This is basically about Brahmanism and everything. And like I said, I'm going through Patanjali's Yoga Sutras, which is basically a piece of cake for me. And I'm also getting a little bit of the Sankhya Karika verses, which I've studied several times, which I like, which is one of the formative philosophies in India. I just want to kind of pass that on to you. Don't want to go on running my mouth too much here. Like I said, if you have interest in any of these matters, check that podcast out. It's quite well done, and it builds. ASTRAY, wherever podcasts are found. Ciao. Where's my little button here? I'm going to have to do this manually. Ciao.